Hello! Welcome to Bad at Board Games.
Well, he's bad at board games.
Watch me annoy Toph. And I'll make sure I put the goat thing in there because we're bad at board games.
This is going to happen in every video, isn't it?
I'll come up with new sound effects to annoy you.
Welcome to Brad and Toph, and that's what we've become. Where I question all life decisions.
Bad at board games, but great at annoying Toph.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's get into the video, into the review. And today we are actually going to, based on a recommendation that you guys had, and of course we posed a question and we knew what your answer would be anyways, we wanted to sit down and talk a little bit about one of our favorite game series, and I can say that about me, and I think I can say that about you, is the Great Western Trails. I guess we call it a trilogy at this point, with an expansion. It is by Alexander Pfister, who's become one of our favorite game designers as well. We've got several games from him, not just within the series, but outside of it as well. And so we, now having played 2nd edition Great Western Trail, as well as Argentina and New Zealand, thought we'd sit down and talk about the different games.
Yep. And then, like, which one of them do we like the best?
Yes.
Stick around for that, because that's what we know you really care about.
Yeah. You'll notice one of them is missing in this little bundle of boxes, and that's because I forgot it, because it's at my house. So you don't see that one, but we have the 3 games. We have Great Western Trail 2nd edition. That one came out first. That's one of your absolute favorite games of all time. It's been some videos that we have done, and then Argentina came out, and we fell in love with that and anxiously awaited the new one, New Zealand. So
yeah, I was like, I want to get it at Gen Con. It was coming out, and like prior every Gen Con when they were releasing one of these, it was like it was hard to get. You weren't able to get it for a couple months, but Asmodee, say what you want. This time everything was out, no shipping delays. It was like at Gen Con, it was on Miniature Market. It's everywhere now. I'm pretty sure you can still get it. I don't think it's like a sold out kind of a thing, but
I haven't looked recently, but I know the last time I looked after you had it, I could still see it. So
yeah. So it was available quickly. So that's a nice for you, and for anybody that wants to get a hold of it.
Yeah. So the way that we're going to do this is just kind of talk about them. We're not going to give you an overview of the games. If you have not yet played Great Western Trail or don't know much about it, go back and watch some of our videos or some others' videos. There's a ton of them out there about the games. We've gone in depth with reviews on all of them as well. So if that's what you're looking for, come back to this video, go watch those, and then come back to this video and see our thoughts when we take a look at all of them together. So thought we'll just go through a handful of different things about the games and just kind of sit and talk about kind of what we think about them.
Yeah, so I don't know what Toph's going to do to me. He said we're just going to start rolling. I'm gonna make you answer questions. Stop it. Stop thinking it.
I'm not thinking about anything. All I can say is I don't exist solely to annoy Brad. That's
not true.
Not solely to annoy
Not
Brad.
solely.
So
it is one of his guilty pleasures, though.
Not really. So just kind of to go through the games, we're going to go kind of quickly through them. Let's start with just kind of first impressions of the game. So first impressions, what you thought, and then immediately how that gameplay was. So let's start with the base game real quick. Tell me quickly what you thought as soon as you sat down to play Great Western Trail.
So I think about halfway through the game, I just had this like light bulb. I'm like, man, I really like this game. I don't know what it was. It was like, I watched, a review like we all do, and they sold it very well, the first edition. So I was really hyped to finally get my hands on the 2nd edition because I knew it was coming out. And it was just something about like, wow, it was one of those moments like you want to have in board games. I really like this game. It's almost intangible, but it's like, I'm really, really enjoying this game.
Yeah.
So that was my first impression with it.
Do you remember that tipping point? What made you think you liked it?
I don't know. It was something about moving your cowboy around and taking the spots, and not having, like, you only moved where there's buildings. But there was something about that, and like, I'm delivering cows, and okay, I see this puzzle, and I see like I don't know, this just these opportunities came up and I'm like, I'm enjoying the theme. I never would have thought I'd like cows. Like, oh, really? You're kidding me. This is not a theme I would have ever thought, but like now it's fun.
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah, I think for me, it was kind of the same idea. We started playing games. This is one of the first major games that we really learned together at the time. I have a long history of playing board games. Brad has a history of playing board games. And then when you started the board game group and we started kind of getting into it more, this was one of the heavier weight games that we jumped into together. And I thought learning it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be, which was good because I used to be the one that would learn all the games before. And so you learned it. You taught it to me. And in the beginning, I sat there thinking, okay, I always compare them to other games. Which is this game like? And I think what I thought was so good for me was the difference in the game play. So the movement, the way the movement worked, the train and how you had to navigate the train, the working through the cards, and we learned it wrong because Brad taught it. But how to go through the deck building aspect of the game, all these little things together made it just flow well instead of fighting. So it wasn't like any one game I played. It was a handful of different things, but yet at the same time, the aha for me was, wow, it flows, it works.
Yeah, and we made it harder because we weren't drawing back up. Like that was something I kind of missed or skimmed over. And so it was just like, okay, well, you're not getting new cards after you discard. And I almost like we probably played 4 or 5 games that way. And then when we started, like it got so much easier when we were drawing back up, but I almost like the tightness of not being able to draw your hand back up.
Yeah.
But either way, still a great game.
We just discussed that actually in the last game when we were playing. I don't think it was in the video, but just in talking about it, how it made it a lot tighter. Brad was not, to his credit, was not a big deck builder player at the time. Like, he didn't have a lot of experience playing deck builders. So, I questioned it, but at the same time, I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know him that well. Now I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? This is not right. But yeah, so good game. We played it quite a bit. It made its way to the top of your favorite games of all time list. Why?
The most fun. Like, there's games that are more fun, but it had everything in it that I like. That's why it became my #1 game of all time.
Okay. So. Excellent. For me, again, it continues to be the way the game is able to play together without fighting mechanics that I absolutely love. I really like the building of the tableau too. That's another good thing with this game. I love tableau building games, and this one to unlock and upgrade your board and then have to mitigate different things with your board. So take away workers and put them on the board, which means I don't have quite as good engine going on my board. Those kind of things. Just it's beautiful, like the way it plays together, and I love it. Constantly changing. So so that was the first one that we played, was 2nd edition, and then Argentina came out. We'll get to Rails to the North. Okay. Well, let's talk about the base games. Base games first. So Argentina came out. Argentina I bought, and I absolutely never once regretted the purchase. It was good. But I will say that it was a little confusing at times to actually learn parts of the game. There were new mechanics that I was not ready for. Not that they're hard mechanics, but first impressions. You want me to go? You want to? Okay. So for me, the new mechanics of the game is absolutely what made that game what it is, and that's where I was like, "Oh, I like this," because especially after having played first. 2nd edition and the base game are pretty much exactly the same. So if we say the first game or 2nd edition, that's what we mean. We've played it a lot. And so to have this new mechanic of the ships and having to not just get the ship functionality down, but also the ports to start to understand how you have to get them, that I absolutely loved.
Yeah, and I talk about Argentina as being like chess. So, compared to, granted, it's a Euro. These are heavy, not Lacerda level Euros, but they're still heavier Euros. And I still look at Argentina as kind of like it's the chess version of a Euro, where Great Western Trail and New Zealand, they're all like you're playing on multiple checkerboards, but it's not necessarily like checkers isn't hard. but I still lose at it. But chess is like so deep, and you have to think so much more, and there's so much more to wrap your head around. And I loved Argentina. I was amazed by it. I really, really liked it.
Yeah. And it was also interesting to play solo. I have not played the other two solo, but that one was interesting to try to figure out like some different things. It just played different, but competitively it scales well from playing 2-player to playing 4-player. So, which is always a good thing to do. But it's tighter.
Mm-hmm.
It's tighter than Great Western Trail playing the wrong way, where you don't actually do deck building. You just hold all your cards hoping that you can sell them.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So it's good.
Yeah. I was blown away by it.
Mm-hmm.
I was just really blown away by it. But I was blown away by it because it took a mechanic and everything I liked about Great Western Trail, and then actually added something that made it harder,
mm-hmm.
but still kept its essence in a way. Just like wow, this is just a harder version of Great Western Trail, and wow, how I like that.
Yeah. We talked about it as a game group after, I think we played it a couple times as a gaming group.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it at one point, and the question came up, which one would you keep on your shelf, both or the other? And I think in my mind, I immediately thought, this is not a replacement for Great Western Trail. It's not an add-on. It's not an expansion. It's a different game.
Yeah, I would want both. I like, spoiler to the end, other than Rails to the North, I would want all of them.
Yeah.
For different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Because they do play different enough that it's not just like, oh, here, I gave you another card with foil on it or something, like some games.
That's not what this is. Yeah, different games. I think, Argentina fits our niche of wanting heavy games, but I don't know if I would go to a gaming convention with Argentina. I think I'd take the base game.
Yeah, I would. Argentina is like when you really want that. I want to play a heavy Euro,
mm-hmm.
and I think it's going to be one of the best heavy Euros you can have.
I might argue that, but it is fantastic.
But you love Lacerdas and but I still think this is like right in that area of,
mm-hmm.
crunchy, hard, but then it's got all the other things that I like about Great Western Trail, right?
Yeah.
So
mm-hmm.
if you've played Great Western Trail, you'll be able to play Argentina and then not feel like you're so overwhelmed with the other stuff. You'll be able to enjoy this new aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I would say if you have the opportunity to do so and you're learning one of them for the first time, start with the base game and then move to Argentina, because there is a difference.
Yeah, and I know some people have been commenting like, oh, it was the first one I got, and people say that's the worst one to get. I would agree. As far as it's not the worst one to get, it's probably the worst one to start with. Like out of all of them, doesn't mean it's bad. And if you're used to 4.0 level or heavyweight games, you'll figure it out. But like, I think either New Zealand or the Great Western Trail 2nd edition is a better place to start.
Yes, 100% agree with that. 100%. So now we've moved into Argentina, and then recently they came out with New Zealand.
Yeah, I don't know. This is interesting, the fact that like most of the time I'm not all that much of a fanboy of like, oh, they've got another one of those and another one of those. But I have definitely been with this one because they haven't disappointed yet.
Mm-mm.
So
no,
and they announced these when they came out with Great Western Trail 2nd edition. I don't know if they announced the fact that they were going to do Argentina and New Zealand at the same time. So like they'd been Alexander Pfister's been working on these for a while.
Yeah.
Like you don't just be like, oh, that sold well, now I'm going to make this in a year's time. No, like they already had it mapped and already had it locked in for a 3 board game deal. Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's impressive, I think too.
Yeah. I don't remember the launch of 2nd edition and all the marketing of it as much. It wasn't on my radar because of the theme. That was absolutely for me something that I was like, whatever. It's a good game, I'm sure. Whatever. I'm not that interested, but I'll play anything. And you, I think, were more into the kind of, it was on your radar.
Oh yeah.
Where it wasn't really with me. So I don't remember that one, but I do know when I went to purchase Argentina, that's everything was talking about, well, New Zealand's coming up in 2023. So Like there it is together. And I know they talked about that before. Argentina was really kickstarting so much. I shouldn't use the word kickstarting, but
yeah, it was like within a year. This one's going to be second edition's year 1, then year 2 is Argentina, and then year 3 is going to be New Zealand.
Yeah, so
whatever.
So New Zealand, we pulled it out, we played it. Thoughts?
I was blown away by it. You can watch our video and see what our BGG rating is, or you can wait till the end to see what our BGG rating is. But the first game, I was like, I don't know if I like this better than Great Western Trail. And then that second game and beyond kind of went like, well, how stupid were you? And I think it's just that first game, New Zealand allows you multiple paths to victory. Unlike any other game. Like you want that in every game. You keep saying like, oh, but then there really is like one way to win. If you don't play that one way, and like there's so many games that they say it, but like I think New Zealand's the first time I've really felt like, no, I really can go houses, or I can go this, or I can go shearing sheep or selling sheep or something. In a way that like you can't ignore some things like the bird track, but I still felt like, okay, I want to do it and there's benefits for it. And then there's also victory points I don't want to lose, but everything that's not going to win me the game. It's just going to keep me from losing the game. Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah. But there's other ways now that I can win by really pushing into other aspects of the game.
Brad and I disagree a little bit on that because with the base game especially, you have said that. And I'm glad you teach people by saying, here's something to focus on. But I do feel like there's more ways to be able to win, but it is a little bit more difficult to choose a different pathway than cows with the base game. But it is possible. It's just harder to do. With New Zealand, it is balanced in the different ways. And that's a great part of it. Yeah, for me, I almost was disappointed in New Zealand. Because we went from Great Western Trail to Argentina, and it was a big step up, in my opinion, in terms of the difficulty and complexity of the game and the play. And then New Zealand felt like we were missing something. And then when I thought about it, I was like, nope, absolutely love it. Like there's a reason why that's such a good thing. I was expecting harder, more difficult.
Yeah, they didn't make it harder for hardness' sake. They made it, I don't know, integrated. It's so well integrated. Yeah. It's like they really refined it, and they could have made it really difficult if they left the train system in, and it'd have been too much and not fun. Yeah. Like, but the way they were able to do it, it's like, God, and it still feels it's tight. Like I want more money and I want more like Like I never felt like my engine was just like, I finally got it. I'm like, got all this money and I'm not, but because there's all these different branching pathways, it's kind of like, it's still like,
but it's still tight. It's good. Yeah. Now, when we talk about how difficult these are, please know that we're not talking about Argentina as a huge step up. They're all roughly about the same-ish. We're talking a quarter of a point.
I would say half.
Maybe a half point between what we would consider the least complex of them and the most complex of them. So, they're all kind of up there. But, okay, so let's step out of base games. Expansion. So, the base game, second edition, they came out with Rails to the North.
Yeah, which was just a duplication of Rails. Rails to the North was in first edition as well.
Yes.
Right? So they've refined it, reskinned it. I don't think there's hardly any changes from the first Rails to the North to the second edition's Rails to the North. Our friend Derek likes Great Western Trail, and he didn't like it, and he kind of told us that before we played it and such. But at the time, I liked it, and I think I gave it a 7. Take it or leave it. It was a nice addition, but I wasn't going to be like, it's not essential. So not essential. And now I'll just go ahead and say it. Now that we've got 2 more iterations of Great Western Trail out there, I kind of say Rails to the North is a 6. Like I've dropped it, and I don't know. At some point I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever, now that we have New Zealand, ever play Rails to the North, because I think New Zealand implemented what you wanted Rails to the North to be in such a cohesive manner that you feel like you're getting stuff done versus fighting it.
I didn't really like Rails to the North. There is a benefit, and I can see some people always wanted to play with it. I think we talked about this in our review of it, but it's, for me, clunky. It's fiddly. It feels like it's not a part of the game. It's something else that you have to pay attention to. But to be honest, in some of our plays with it, I didn't do almost anything in that expansion. And for me, it took away the enjoyment of playing Great Western Trail, where I don't know. I don't want to say it made Great Western Trail something I didn't want to play anymore, but it took away from the gameplay. It didn't add to it. And then they came out with Argentina, and Argentina does not have anywhere near the same section. Like, there is more to the game. There's another board that you have to work with, but it's not at all the same. But it worked, and that's why we like that game. We love the boats. We love the ports. We love that portion of it. And then they came out with New Zealand, and I think what they did with New Zealand is they took this fiddly clunkiness of Rails to the North, and then they took the aspects that pretty much everybody likes of Argentina. Every review I see of it online, they talk about the same aspects being so great, and that's where the refinement. That's the word to use, the refinement of a lot of mechanics to make the game more cohesive, but makes that section of it critical and integrated into the game.
Yeah, it's just a stellar implementation. Like, I'm sure, and I won't call it a cash grab, but, Great Western Trail did great. Hey, can you make me an expansion so we can get some more money? And he went, yeah, sure. I'm going to get paid, and I'm going to try to, like, integrate something. But, like, New Zealand felt like I know how that mechanism was. I know where the failures were with it. I understand what people have been saying about it for years, pros and cons. How can I make it fully integrated with the base game and some of the new stuff that I want to do? So,
yeah. So here's what it is that you probably want to know from us and this video. So, yay. Glad we can hear you now clapping for us. The things that I do not sign off on.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 3 games. How do we want to do this?
Well, I feel like
here's one thing I'm going to say.
Right.
Neither of us want this.
Yep. So our least favorite is Rails to the North. So we'll knock that one off the bat right now. So.
If somebody is sitting down at the table and they want to play Great Western Trail and they only will play it with that, I'm not going to say no.
Right.
But I'm never going to volunteer that game to play. And I'm glad Brad owns it, so it doesn't have to sit on my shelves, because really I didn't enjoy it. I did the same as Brad. I went into BGG after playing Argentina and New Zealand and lowered even further the expansion because it just met better with the rubric.
So I think at a 6, it's like, it's okay. I'll play it if somebody else wants to. And to your point, like, but I don't know if I would always say yes to it in Great Western Trail. I think I'd rather just play Great Western Trail.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to drop it to a 5, but it's just not.
Yeah.
There's I would say, let's play New Zealand if you want to play that.
Yeah.
Is really where I'd come out.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember what I dropped it to, but it's pretty much at the I never want to play it again.
Yeah. So I'm going to intervene because I like playing games. But I try to guess what your next favorite is. Do you want to do that? Or are we just going to talk about each game?
Well, we can do that. Do you want to do like which would be the least favorite to the most favorite? Is that what you're
so it'd be like our third favorite, like number 3.
Okay.
So I think you're number 3. Are you okay with this?
Yeah, I'm just saying I wish my OCD, I wish I had brought my game over so that we had all 3 of them. But
I'll put a little box lid up on top of this as we talk about it. But I think Toph's number 3, and I'm expecting us to have the same rating, but I could be wrong here. I think your least favorite of the 3 is Great Western Trail 2nd Edition.
Yeah.
You have to make a decision.
I do have to make a decision.
This is tough. This is good games.
Oh gosh, it's so hard for me to say it.
So what's your BGG rating first? Of your number 3, like whatever your number 3 is, you're gonna have to say your rating first.
You ready for this? This is gonna just mess up everybody's mind. My least favorite of the 3, in terms of this is what I always want to play. Like if I'm gonna pull out only one off the shelf, my least favorite, I rated a 9.5.
You've upped these then.
Mm-mm.
I didn't think you had a 9.5. I thought you had lower than that.
Well, there is one that's lower than that.
Okay. All right.
The third one that I would pull off the shelf
All right.
is Argentina.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I rated it a 9.5. The reason why that's the third one that I would reach for is because of the complexity of the game.
Yeah.
And when we were discussing the video before, you mentioned Lacerda and brought that name up. I absolutely love Lacerda games. I love some of these heavy games. But while I think it improved on this game,
Mm-hmm.
I almost think that for the complexity of it, I'd rather pull something else off the shelf than this. So it's a 9.5 because I think it's a better game than this. But it would be the third that I would reach for.
Right.
If we're talking just Great Western Trail.
Yeah, and I could see where he's coming from, but I'm going to say out of these now, I've ranked it at 10 because I had to pick one.
Argentina?
That was a 10. No, the second edition.
Oh, yeah.
So my third in 3, 2, 1 is going to be second edition now.
Mm-hmm.
Now I understand what he's saying, and I could argue the same fact as Toph. I'm not going to go for Argentina all the time, but for just sheer when I want a heavier game,
mm-hmm.
Argentina is going to beat Great Western Trail second edition. So I'm saying that second edition is number 3 in the list. So
please know that we are coming from a place when we say a heavier game that this is going to be the snobbery coming out, and it's not. I'm not trying to be snobbery, but I don't think of this as a heavy game anymore.
But it is.
It is. But anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a heavy game.
I still think this is to me, this is a 3.75. So once you start hitting 4s, once you're over 3, you got a solid medium weight game. You're going into Euros, and then once you get it closer to 4.
Yeah.
But this is no slouch.
Yeah. No, not at all. So we differ now on what is the third one we'd pull off the shelf. So what is the second one we'd pull off the shelf?
You want me to go, or you want to go?
I think for you, it's going to be Argentina as the second one you pull off the shelf.
Argentina is. Uh-huh. Yeah. And I would say if it wasn't so much thought and chunky, that it could be the number 1, but it's because of that, because I'm putting it right there against any Lacerda. I like the game. I think it's got depth. And so that, to me, that's the second one. And, I would rather play Argentina than Lisboa.
Okay, see, I'm the other way around.
Yeah, but Lisboa is his number 2 of all time.
Yes, almost number 1. Struggled with that. Yeah, I'd rather pull Lisboa, heck, really any of the Lacerdas off the shelf first before that one. And I absolutely love Argentina. So that's not a knock against it. But yeah, so that's Argentina's your second.
Yep.
For me, my second is, do you want to say, or do you want me to?
I'm sorry, I got to.
Well, Brad's dying, so here, I'll go ahead and say, because you know what it is. It's going to be Great Western Trail second editions. Absolutely love this game, and it's fantastic.
Yep. So,
but it's the second one I pull off the shelf, which means the one that both of us prefer of the bunch, typically speaking, is going to be New Zealand.
Yep. And I would say New Zealand's the easiest, quote unquote, of the 3.
It's heavier weight, technically speaking, but it synergizes everything better.
Yeah, I found
it easier.
Now, granted, the people I taught it to had played Great Western Trail, so that helped. But I still think this is easier to teach than Great Western Trail because you don't have the train.
Yes.
Once you take the train out, and that if your train's here and you got to have to look for the X's, and depending on how far the X's are from where you're trying to deliver, you got to pay that. And you can come off to this little area here. And if you want that bonus thing, you immediately have to be able to pay for it and then take a worker and put it up there. Those things people kind of start to glass over, right? It's its whole little set of rules, serious rules, where the other ones are kind of I can either shear a sheep or sell a sheep. I can, once I land on this spot, which is different than I can then move my boat. And I know you can do that with the train, but it's just I can move the boat.
Yeah, they just refine things better as they go. So there's so much more in this game. So technically it's more complex, but it's fun. It's not because it's new and different. it's just fun. And it's so exciting to see the shearing of the sheep, the selling of the sheep, and how they play so different, how they play so well, and the strategies you can branch off and do so many different things within it. And at the same time, you can choose an easier strategy if you're a new player to the game, or you can, like we sit down and play a lot of strategy. We're fine. We can all play together and probably do comparably well together in it.
Yeah. Our games were really close, 2-player and 3-player. Like, I think in the gameplay we had, we thought Toph won by 1, and it turned out I won by 2 because I had placed one of my chips wrong. Yeah. And then, like, when we had our 3-player games, like, we were all within 10 points.
Yeah,
like,
all of us. Yeah.
It was, and we've played it before, Great Western Trail. So, like, it's nice to see, and maybe it's just a fluke, and one of us hasn't really, like, played it enough to leave the other ones in the dust. But, like, it wasn't like, oh, you got a 55 and somebody else got a 70. That happened to me on my very first time playing it, but not all, like, after that, I understood, like, okay, I can't disregard the bird track.
Yeah.
Can't, like, just leave it and not get any of those victory points.
Yeah.
Like, once you start, your first game may feel like that, but you'll probably be like, okay, I know not to do that. Doesn't mean I have to play to win that. And I think for me, it's just like, there's multiple ways to win. And we all played within a 10-point range. We all had very different games going.
Yeah.
Extremely different games going.
Yeah.
So it was like, that's what's put this over the edge for me, is just that. And I like some of those new cards where you can draw a card. Oh, I get a thing, discard it, immediately draw back up in my turn.
Yeah, the extra cards. Yeah, all of it plays well. So to kind of wrap it up, BGG rating for me, I went 2nd edition 9, Argentina 9.5. It just happened to work out this way. And then New Zealand, I gave it a 10. You rated them?
So because Great Western Trail 2nd edition is like my best of all time right now, it's still a 10. I haven't dropped it. I don't think I ever will.
Yeah.
Argentina, I think, was a 9.5. Even though I would say I like it better than Great Western Trail 2nd edition. And then this one, I rated it a 9. I think as I'm able to play it more, which we will, then this will end up being a 10. Like, all 3 of these, I think all 3 of these could be 10s. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of like, what mood am I in? And, I've played Great Western Trail 20, 25, 30 times. I want to play New Zealand 20, 25, 30 times now.
Yeah. It's going to see, I'm going to be curious to see how these all play out. I don't think either of us will get rid of them, at least not the base games. Who knows about the expansion? But I'm curious as we bring new people into the Great Western Trail series, how they feel about it as well. So we'll keep you updated as we play a lot more. You'll hear it come up, I guarantee, in our top 100 videos or top 100 games of all times, on other top 10 lists, things like that. So keep an eye out for them. I hope that these gave you all an idea of what we think of the 3 games. Any final parting words?
No, I mean, if you have any questions about why in a little bit more detail, comment down below. We'll happily give you our opinions back and forth and go into more detail and specific questions you may have. I wanted this to be 15 minutes. And once again, we're at 30 minutes in Bad at Board Games fashion, but we're trying to give you more information, detailed information. And, like, we talked an hour on this one.
Just that game alone. So, and I'll try to link the 3 videos if I can remember to do it when we're uploading the video into YouTube. I'll try to link everything down below. So check out the comments, and if they're not, or the description, and if it's not there, yell at me and I'll go find the link and add it as a comment. So
we'll get it all done.
Yeah.
So just remember, no matter how you play, whether it's solo, with family, or annoying your friend,
enjoy whatever games you are bringing to the table.
Have a great night.
Bye.